welcome to The Well-Tended Life. I am your host, Carrie Wilt, a speaker, writer, and heart cultivator who is on a mission to help you grow through any season. I'm here today with my special guest, Ashley Brown, who has agreed to come and talk to me about the joy, goodness, and growth that is planted all around all of us. This series was inspired by the words of my great-great-grandmother in her famous book when she wrote, Mistress Mary always felt that however many years she lived, she should never forget that first morning when her garden began to grow. And friends, I don't want you to forget, and I don't want you to even miss seeing the joy, goodness, and growth that is happening all around you. So what I've done is I've invited some of my friends from all across the country, from all walks of life and jobs and backgrounds, to share a little bit about the joy, goodness, and growth that is happening in their own lives, in hopes that you might begin to notice the same bits of growth, joy, and goodness in your own. So let's dig in. Welcome, Ashley.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Well, introduce yourself to our audience. Tell them who you are, where you're from, what your scoop is.
Okay, I'm Ashley Brown. I'm a freelance writer, and I do marketing and PR work for clients like websites and press releases and that sort of thing. But I've also written a book about morning rituals, and I do a lot of online articles and workshops on that topic. And then I also have a blog called Joy Detectives, which is about my ongoing quest to be happy.
And don't we all need that right now, right? I was actually thumbing through the book this morning, and, I think this is one of the things that I think people will take out of this season is the need for these little bits of respite and time. People before probably have told you a million times, I don't have time, right, for a morning ritual. And for the first time, people, I think, have had time to explore having some of those things. And I hope that they keep them as they go forward.
Yeah. I mean, and even, it's been such an interesting time because, we've all had a lot more time in our houses, if we're not going to work or going to school or whatever, or running errands like we normally would. But at the same time, everything changed all at once. So it was almost overwhelming. And it wasn't like we all got to go on retreat and have a vacation, and it wasn't stressful. Like, it was super stressful. And we were, it's funny because I think a lot of people have been looking for things to make them feel more calm. And that's definitely something, mindfulness and those types of things can really help. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to brag, but I might be in the book. When you go to chapter 2, you might see my chapter in there. Ashley at Camp Lucky Star, which if you watch the first interview with Lisa in it, you'll know that she is the owner of Lucky Star. And Ashley is one of my campmates. And Lisa had asked me to speak mostly about growth and weeds and all of those kind of fun things. And Ashley had heard me speak and asked me to be a part of this book. And it's interesting. The other thing you said the word just 2 seconds ago, which is change. And I wrote about my morning rituals. How many years ago was this now? Do you think 3?
Yeah.
4?
Yeah.
3. Yeah. So it's been a while. But what I want people to know is that my morning rituals have changed, like a bunch of times since then. Each season brings time for different things. Each part of me, like, I'm shocked, but I'm also thankful that my morning ritual, whatever you're doing now, doesn't have to look the same next month, next year. You do what brings you joy in that moment, what brings you calm, what brings you peace. And so that's what I love about this book of yours, actually, is that you interviewed people who have a million different ways that they do their morning rituals. And so you can pick and choose what's working, what can work for you right now in this season. So change is okay, everybody. It's hard sometimes. It's the transition period is really hard, but change is good always. I,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, so you work from home?
Yeah, so that has not changed for me. I still do everything from home, but obviously the daily life looks a lot different. And, my son, I have a 15-year-old son, he was home finishing his school year, doing
Mhm.
his stuff, and, all of the normal things that I would do in a day just really kind of got shifted around and changed. And then, I normally spend a lot of time at home, but not being able to go out makes that feel a lot different. I didn't have that sense of, oh, I'm cozy at home. It was more like, oh, I got to get out. Like, I've got to do something. So it was really a challenge getting more used to that feeling and trying to reframe it in my mind of, okay, let's look at the positives of this and try to, even though I didn't choose it, maybe try to think of it as a choice, because that's going to make me feel better.
Oh, for sure. Well, and in typical fashion, the minute you kind of get comfortable in something, change happens again. I found
Right.
myself yesterday. My daughter, like I had a dentist appointment, and my daughter had some volleyball practice, and I found myself being like, wait a minute, like I kind of got used to this whole not having to go anywhere, but now I've got to fit all these things back into this other world that I've kind of, same thing, that I've chosen in
Mm-hmm.
this time. And I love that word because it's true. It does give you some control back, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but how quickly it all changes again. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
hold on to
Just we're
what you
getting
got for
used to
right
it and
now.
getting in the groove. Yeah.
For sure.
Mhm.
So really, so not a whole lot has changed, but it still feels like change, doesn't it?
Right, right. And also one of the biggest things for me was not being able to travel, because we normally will go, we were just about to go on our spring break trip and everything started happening. And so we had to cancel that. And I had a workshop planned and, some events and things like that I was going to do, and those got postponed. So again, like I said, that's, almost the feeling of losing control and being stuck or trapped. I really, like, I gotta travel, I've got to go somewhere, and figuring out how to get that outlet expressed somewhere else, watching Rick Steves on TV or something like that.
Right. Well, I guess my question would be too, is how have your morning rituals changed, or have they just become different in this time to kind of keep you in that state?
Mm-hmm. Well, they've changed. So my essential things that I do haven't changed as much, but what really did change for me was that I was feeling different like every day. And so I would wake up some mornings and I would wake up and feel really great. And so I would do everything I normally do, which is I do morning pages, which are 3 pages of long hand, writing by hand, stream of consciousness that I got from The Artist's Way, which is a book by
Yes.
Jenny Cameron. And you sort of
Did you just
dumping it.
read that, or have you always done that?
No, I added that probably about 2 years ago.
Okay.
I really started doing that consistently. And it helps just get all the stuff that's in your head, just get it out.
Yes.
So it kind of clears you out. But during this time when I would feel stressed, I found that I resisted doing that. I didn't want to sit down and write because I didn't really want to face everything that I was feeling. I didn't want to sit there and go through it all again because it was the same thing every day. It was like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. Oh, I'm freaked out. Oh, what's this going to, what does it mean for this? And what does it mean for that? And when is it going to end? And all of those things. So a lot of days I just would skip that part and just say, I can't do that right now. But I'd always get down, I stretch every morning, and that really helps because when you stretch your body, you sort of release the physical tension, and a lot of times that helps release the mental tension also. And then another thing that I do every day is I take my coffee and I go outside in my backyard, which to sort of segue into your thing that you'll ask next about joy, I
Right.
suppose, is one of the things that really has brought me joy in this time is nature. And like the first thing that I did when I knew that we were going to have to stay at home was I went out to the garden center and I bought a bunch of flowering plants, and I put them all over the yard. So that at least, if that was my only view, I was going to have something nice to look at every day.
Right.
You
and everybody else. The garden centers made out this season.
That was the business to have in the beginning, right? Yeah, they made a ton of money. But so I go out every morning and I drink my coffee and I stand in the grass and I get some sunshine, I get the vitamin D and the mood boost that happens when you get sunshine. It boosts your serotonin levels. And it's just really peaceful, and it's really been comforting because nature has not changed,
Nope.
When everything else was changing, like I could go outside and it was still spring outside and the birds were still making their nests and the squirrels were running around and playing and the grass is growing and flowers are blooming, and it just felt normal. And that's really comforting.
I can't tell you how many times I thought in the beginning, just thank you, Lord, that it's spring. Like that in all of this, that we get to watch this rebirth right before our eyes, the pushing out of those. It's my favorite color in the whole wide world, that baby green that is that very first leaf color. I just, I felt really bad for those people who were stuck in the northern states and it was still snowing and all of that. At least we could get out and go for walks. And it's interesting because I went for a walk this morning, as I do most mornings as well. But I'm finding myself, especially kind of over the last month, taking photos of little things that kind of just get my attention. Like today it was a road through some wildflowers that I've walked by a million times, but I'm finding even if I never look at the photo again, the act of stopping and taking a picture of the thing helps me to see it. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to explain it other than to say that. I think it makes me stop long enough to really see it and soak it in. So I have a million photos on my phone right now of random little wildflowers and, a log that's fallen down in a fun way or whatever it is. But I think in nature, you're right. It hasn't changed. It's still going forward, just like we're going to still go forward.
Right.
It just doesn't always feel that way sometimes.
Right.
Well, I love that. Well, so look at, we already knocked one off of our list. Like that. Joy is nature for sure. And anybody can find that anywhere if you have the eyes to see it. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges is that we're all running really fast usually. And that's been the good thing I think about all of this is it's caused everyone to slow down a little bit and maybe take notice of the nature around them in a way, even in the middle of the city. There are little wildflowers that pop up in the cracks and, someone who's, put a pot out on their front stoop. There are places and the birds flying by. There's places you can find it too.
Yeah.
Okay. So then let's talk about the goodness that's happening in your life. So I told her before we started the interview, this whole practice really comes out of my journal practice in the morning where I write down one thing from the day prior that brings me joy, goodness, and growth. And for me, goodness are the things that I'm really just feeling grateful for right now. Is there something in your life you can share?
Sure. Well, so obviously, the very first thing is I've just been really grateful this whole time that my family's been healthy, that we've been able to go through this and, have a safe place to be and, have enough food and have enough toilet paper after a brief scare in the beginning.
Who knew that was going to be on a grateful list someday, right?
I understand
Nobody
that,
ever knew.
I will always be grateful for toilet paper now. And it's funny because it really has made you, pay attention to the basics, the things that we take for granted. And, I would walk around, especially in the beginning, and I'd be like, thank goodness I have a house that, I like being in,
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason. I mean, it's just that like really made me feel good and safe. And then, I was grateful for my yard and for being able to go out and put some pretty plants in there and then be able to go out in it every day. And like you said, the weather, our weather has been unbelievably beautiful. I think this might be
well, tell them where you live. I don't think you said that in your introduction.
Yeah. I live in Florida. I live in Pensacola, Florida. So I'm on the Gulf Coast. And normally here, like we have a really humid, hot spring. We'll have like maybe a week of nice weather and then boom, it's hot and humid. And it's just getting hot and humid. So this whole time, we've had like coolish mornings and cool breezes and low humidity and a lot of sunshine, hardly any rain, which is also weird. So I've been extremely grateful for that because, like you talked about going on your walk, one of my things that I like to do a lot is go for walks. And I've been able to do that practically every morning, which, especially on the days when I was feeling stressed or anxious, it makes such a difference to be able to go for a walk. And first of all, just to get outside and change up the scenery, but it really just helps all of the anxiety drain out. And you come home and you feel a little invigorated physically, and you feel relaxed mentally. And I'm just extremely grateful that I've been able to do that and have a place where I can go walk every day.
Right. Talking about walking, is there, I know you clearly understand the physical benefits and the mental benefits. Is there a time, like, is it 10 minutes? Is it 15 minutes that like causes that? And I know you're like, even your morning stretching routine is not a whole lot of time. I think people have this idea that they have to go out for an hour or even 30 minutes. And I'm not certain that's the case. Do you know, do you have some information about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think even just 10 minutes makes a difference, or even really just being outside, even 5 minutes. I notice when I go outside and stand outside that I immediately feel calmer just after a minute of being out there. So, if people are just stressed and they don't have time to even go for a walk, if you literally just step outside, it makes a difference. But I know I've read, 10 to 15 minutes of walking, of just really gentle, I don't book it, I take my time, I stroll. But it's just a slow, it's just enough to get the blood pumping and the oxygen going deeper into your lungs and the fresh air. And that all sort of starts that process, and the endorphins start to flow, and it just calms you down.
I find my creativity is heightened just even from a 15-minute walk. When I was in the middle of writing my book, I would intentionally to take breaks, and I would just like walk around I'd get up and I'd walk around our little circle here, and it wasn't much, but it was enough to almost like release everything and let my brain kind of let go in order to be able to dive back in again. I can't say enough things about walking, people. You do not have to be a crazy, like she said, you don't have to go fast. Listen, I'm a 17-minute miler. This girl is not, I am not setting records at all. But it's a big thing that can change the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you see as well. I think it clears away a lot of the clutter and the fog that happens just in our daily lives. So, yeah. So you've got lots of joy and goodness in your life because you're a joy detective. You are, for sure, which is why, of course, I gravitate towards you. I decided the other day that I think I am addicted to joyful people. I think I gravitate towards them. I see them. It's like I can spot them in a crowd, and I'm like, ooh, I want to know that person better. So I think I've always felt that way about you as well. Okay, let's talk about growth. Because are you growing anything in particular? Like, are you like really putting your energy into something that you're tending or developing or anything of that nature right now?
So for me right now, it's really been about internal growth because, I had some vague plans for this year, but it was already feeling like a year where I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. Boy, was I right. Totally not sure what was going to happen.
Right.
But I didn't have any I've never really been much of a goal setter anyway. But right now I just sort of, everything was going along and I really wasn't sure what was next. So that's great actually, because I haven't had to, totally shift plans, but, I've always been a person that focuses on improving myself and personal development and that sort of thing as well. And one of my big issues has always been, controlling, the need to control things. And so,
guilty,
right?
Totally guilty here.
So
yep.
This time has been like a crash course in how to let go. and how to just let things be without freaking out. Because in the beginning, I mean, literally every day was changing.
Yeah.
And I was just constantly stressed because I was trying to manage it. I was like, all right, well, if this happens, then I got to do this. And if this happens, then I got to do this. And I was wearing myself out. And so I finally decided, I'm not going to be able to make it through this whole time sane if I don't change what I'm doing. So I decided that I would, I came up with a saying, a plan, if you will, for how to control my need to control or let it go.
Oh, love that. You're controlling this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Girl, you can't let go.
I gotta have some sort of plan, even if it's just for my head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I decided that I would release, allow, accept, and trust, like whatever was going on.
I'm writing it all down. Release.
Okay. So what I had to do was I had to release my expectations, right? I had to just let go of how I thought things were going to be, how I wanted things to be. And then I had to allow how things really were. And then I had to accept them without trying to change them or mold them to fit me better or, anything like that, or, the way that I thought it should be. And then I had to trust that it was all going to be okay. And that I didn't have to control things, that something was going to work out without me controlling it, that we were going to be taken care of, that, everything was going to be all right. Because you have to have that part, you can't release and let go if you don't trust that it's going to be okay, So yeah, that was my big thing. And so I've been trying to do that. I'm not always successful at it, but whenever I start feeling stressed out, I remind myself of that. And it's been helpful. It really has.
Did this come from someplace? Did you learn this technique somewhere, or is this just a compilation of kind of all the things you've learned?
This was kind of a compilation for me, because one of my big things, like I said before, is that, I knew I had an issue with control. That's always been my thing. And so, things that I would read about that, always emphasize that you have to, release resistance, stop resisting what is and just accept it. And so, not resisting and accepting are two big principles, in a lot of things that you'll read about being happier in your daily life. Because you can't, a lot of times you cannot change what's going on. And the only thing you can change is your attitude about it and the way that you look at it. So, those are big parts.
Too many people spend too much time fighting it. Yeah. Like they're fighting themselves. Yeah. And just continuing this crazy spiral. If they would just, get to the other side of that, they could see the joy side.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to, if you can't shift anything in your external world, you have to shift something internally,
Well, and it's really the only thing that we truly have control of, right?
Exactly.
I tell my kids that all the time. I'm like, look, it's the only thing you control is what you do, what you say, outside of that, it's a free for all. Yeah. Yeah. you can control what you do about it, but you can't control it happening.
Yeah. And even when things are, normal, what we do and what we control and what we plan for, it's an illusion that we're actually having any control over anything, because it can all go haywire at any minute. It just often doesn't,
Which I think causes even more issues when we believe what we've planned, and it doesn't happen. Just like, oh, well, it was my fault. It was my own expectations that got dashed. I'm the one that, made it out to be what I wanted it to be. And when it didn't live up to that, I find myself in trouble.
Right. Exactly.
I love that. Release, allow, accept, and trust. Mm-hmm. I'm an acronym girl, so I'm like RAT.
I know, rats.
RAAT. I don't know. I need like another, RAT just doesn't feel right. Maybe it's not the year of the rat, is it?
No.
I don't remember what it is. I think it's a dog maybe or something. I don't know. I haven't been to a Chinese food restaurant that has the little map that tells you in a long time. So, one of the other, issues with COVID. I don't know what the year is. I'll find out for everyone. Oh my goodness, this was awesome. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us today about the joy, goodness, and growth happening around you. Will you take a minute and tell everybody again how they can follow you, about your blog, and your and where they can buy your book? Because y'all, this is so good. It's an awesome, easy read. It's chapter by chapter. So I love. So listen, I'm a magazine girl because I have a hard time like reading something from start to finish. So I love this book because each chapter is basically its own little like self-contained thing, and you don't have to remember. That's my problem. I don't remember what I have already read, and so I don't have to go back and reread. I can just read each chapter. But it's an awesome book, and everybody needs to get one. So tell them how they can get it.
Thank you. So it's available on Amazon. It's I have paperback or ebook. And also I have a website for it, and you can order it directly from me if you prefer that. And the website is abeutifulmorningbook.com. And then I'm on Instagram. My name on Instagram is Joy Detective Ashley Brown. And then I have the blog, which is joydetectives.com.
Awesome. And don't panic, everybody. You don't have to write it all down. I will have it at the back of this interview for you to a quick link to. So don't worry about that. I had a question actually. And of course it's, is it better for you if we order it from you or from Amazon? And it's just like a random question, but I think so many times I want to make sure that, especially in this time, that we are supporting artists and writers and all of those things to the best of our ability. And one may be easier for us, but one may be better for you. Is one better for you?
Well, technically speaking, obviously, I don't make as much money from Amazon as I do from selling directly. So there is that. But normally the issue for people is that Amazon ships things out so much more quickly than I can ship to people. But at this point, I don't think, obviously my book's not one of the essential things that they're shipping out. So it might actually work out to be about the same.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, yeah. So if you've got a little extra time, make sure you order directly from Ashley. But either way, don't let any of it keep you from ordering it, because you'll get some really good nuggets that really will change the way you view how you wake up each morning, and how much better you can feel when you start to put some of these practices to practice. That's a double word, but I'm going with it. It's my show. I can do whatever I want, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening or watching wherever you are. And my hope basically out of this entire interview series is that somebody out there today is going to hear or see something that's opened your eyes to the joy, goodness, and growth that's happening all around you, because it's there. Even in the midst of the storms, it is there. You just have to take the time to notice. Until next time, everyone, see you later. Bye-bye. Blessings and blooms.
Oh my goodness, friends. I had so much fun talking with my friend Ashley today. Loved hearing about her morning rituals, loved talking about the power of being in nature, and about that new thing that she's doing to help her take control of her need to over-control everything with those 4 simple words: release, allow, accept, and trust. To learn more about Ashley and to order her book, A Beautiful Morning, How a Morning Ritual Can Feed Your Soul and Transform Your Life, head on over to her website at abeutifulmorning.com. Also, go and like Ashley on Facebook at A Beautiful Morning as well. And listen, you don't want to miss our next episode in this series about joy, goodness, and growth, as I interview my friend, author and co-founding executive director of Action 169, Danielle Freitag. During our time together, she chats with us about the benefits of journaling, the joy of scheduling, and how she's finding the time to still fit in things that bring her joy, but in a very different way now that she is a brand new mama. And don't miss the end of that one, because there's a cameo by the cutest baby girl in the whole wide world. So make sure to follow The Well-Tended Life on Instagram and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel by the same name today. And until next time, blessings and blooms, y'all.